Graphene is a unique nanoscale form of carbon that is disrupting legacy materials, bringing step-change improvements in performance across a wide range of industrial and consumer applications. From energy storage and electronics to everyday materials, graphene enables products that are better, stronger, and lighter, while increasing durability and improving sustainability. Graphene is leading the era of new advanced materials.
The following is a presentation that was given as part of a two-day virtual Graphene Investors Conference, hosted by the Graphene Council.
Hi everyone, my name is Liam Farrell. I'm the Operating Officer for BioGraphene Solutions, or BGS. We are based in Toronto, Canada. We have lab and production capabilities in Cambridge, Ontario, which is about an hour and a half west of the city. The company was formed in 2019. We currently have about 8 to 10 employees. Right now, we have the current production capability to produce about 1 metric ton of our BioGraphene per year. And we're currently undergoing a financing of about $5 million Canadian. And that's really to fuel the company's next leg of growth, which would include increasing our graphene production capability from 1 metric ton to 50 metric tons a year for roughly $1.5 million Canadian in CapEx. Next slide, please, there, Terrence. Sorry, the next one. We got forward looking, that's the legal. So what makes BGS unique, I believe, is really our technology, and more importantly, how we apply that technology with a focus. I think what sets apart from what I would call more traditional based systems is how we make our graphene. So we actually are able to take 100% organic materials, and we're able to convert that into a high quality graphene material via a thermomechanical process that's unique to us. We do not use any liquids during this process. By definition, we are clean tech. And because of that, we have no byproduct waste. The removal of liquids is important for 2 reasons. One, it makes the product methodology or a product production platform a lot more compact or efficient in production design. So that enables 2 things. It enables us to be a lot more modular in design. We have a very licensable platform, but more importantly, we can scale that with minimal capital expenditure. And then I would say more importantly, it's a very highly controllable process. We actually have a high degree of control as it relates to the rheology and the characteristical profile of materials. You may have heard the term functionalization and graphene oxide or reduced graphene oxides. We actually have the capability of making different types of graphene materials, and that's embedded within our process. That's not a post-production step. So I also feel that's quite unique to us. And the reason being is it allows us to basically tailor make our materials specific to certain market applications. Next slide there, please, Terrence. And our first focus really has been in the concrete and construction world. And we kind of identified this market really for 2 reasons. Other than being large and commodity based, it really is at the heart of our business model. We really do strive to remove environmentally taxing materials in commodity based markets, but we're trying to do this cost effectively without sacrificing performance. Again, we are a sustainable solution. And then more importantly, we identified the regulatory push in this particular market. So certain, and regulatory areas or geographies, concrete companies now being mandated to change how they're going to do things, or they're going to get either taxed or reduced on production. That being cement, sorry. So obviously being cement, a nasty material. So we identified us as being, a potential solution to address this problem. And I think we've done a good job of addressing that so far. So that was the reason why we focused here. Next slide, please. And what we've basically been able to do is in simply form is take our graphene powder, and we've been able to create a unique graphene enhanced concrete admixture that's unique to us. And then more importantly, we did an admixture because it was the way that we thought was the least invasive and I guess the path of least resistance from adoption. Admixtures are not an unknown thing in the concrete world. They're added regularly. It's $1 billion market. And generally these admixtures are added in the concrete trucks at the end once all the materials are mixed, and they generally add cure or permeability properties. What makes our admixture unique, and this is where the value prop comes in, is that we focused on enhancing what we can get out of the graphene as it relates to performance and strength, to a point where we can actually start removing the cement material. Again, not only the binding material, but also the CO2 or the most unsustainable material, and also the most expensive material in that concrete mix design. But we did this differently. As opposed to just kind of blindly reaching out to concrete partners, we actually acquired significant in-house concrete expertise here. One of my first hires about 2 years ago was the previous supervisor of quality control from Lafarge Holcim North America. Significant expertise, PhD, sits on a bunch of concrete association boards. Her name's Laura Mammoliti, for reference. The reason I hired Laura was really for two things. She knows how to test properly. Everything the company does is with third-party certified concrete labs in real concrete mix design. So concrete that you typically find in the real world. So no corners have been cut here. And then more importantly, Laura understands from a gatekeeper perspective on what's acceptable and what's not in the concrete market. So we've actually built our product from procurement backwards. So everything from batching, safety, regulatory, pricing, batching sequence. We've kept all this in mind to make sure that we're a non-invasive product. We look, smell, and behave just like any other admixture with a different value prop. So that's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect of it comes with the data. We have significant data with our product in concrete. We've done over 550 trials. We believe that no one has more, I think that's about 7,000 data points. We think no one has more data intelligence graphene in concrete in North America like we do. And what we really focus on is what we call non-specialized mixed design. So this is stuff that you would typically build houses with, apartment buildings, condos, where we can facilitate cement removals, and I'll explain what that means, without sacrificing performance, but also providing that significant cost reduction and CO2 savings. Next slide there, please, Terrence. This is a bit of a messy slide, but I do like this slide because it kind of makes it visual real quick. Not to pick on other graphene companies, but the reality is without that intelligence, without that understanding of chemistry, stability is important. Most graphenes are hydrophobic. When you mix them in water-based solutions, they precipitate out or agglomerate. The translation of getting that graphene homogeneous dispersed in the end product is important. We have unique IP as it relates to doing this. We've spent quite a long time figuring out that IP. So we make sure that we have a stable and consistent product. And that stability drives results. So if you move to the right, as it relates to performance, a lot of concrete jargon here, but what you need to understand is real simple that when we remove 15% of the cement, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but the reality is that's more than 1,000 pounds of cement per truckload. We do this in a way where we integrate into regular mix designs that people are comfortable with. But more importantly, when we remove that cement, we don't sacrifice the performance. And in fact, we actually improve the performance. And we figured out where those boundaries are of our product, either through compatibility of different geologies, materials, compatibility of different cement groups, compatibility of different admixtures. Again, our data is quite extensive here. As it relates to the net value prop, it's really simple to our customers. It always starts, I think, with cost and commodity-based markets. It's great to think green, but the reality is it has to make sense for dollar cents perspective. We can be cost neutral. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. We actually drive cost savings. So in a cubic meter of concrete, we typically save $12 to $15 in cement costs, which is quite significant. Most big players are looking to save pennies on a cubic meter, not dollars. And obviously, when you include our materials, those net savings are still there. And then more important, that translates to something that's a lot more marketable or more meaningful as it relates to the CO2 savings. We took the Portland cement white paper. There's lots of white papers out there. I think it's for every kilogram of cement, it's equivalent to 0.8 or 0.9 of CO2 save. But the reality is we drive significant embodied carbon reductions in the applicable mix designs that we're targeting. That's measurable. And then more importantly, we think they're probably 3 to 4 times more effective than the next carbon removal technology in the marketplace today. And again, lots of data here. Next slide, please, Terrence. As it relates to the efficiency of our business model while raising the capital, the reality is the technology that we have drives a different business model, and it's what I call product efficiency. I mean, the reality is true nanotechnology, you shouldn't be using a lot to drive performance. In a cubic meter of concrete, which is about 2,400 kilograms of material, we use less than 50 grams in our liquid of our dry graphene material. The reason this is significant is because it drives a different business model. It allows us to scale to visibility capital efficiently. We don't need to go build large manufacturing environments to get to cost efficiency in order to meet that scale. We can actually drive very simple production environments that can meet very basic or commercial volumes, and we can do that in a cost-effective way that's still profitable to the company, which I think is quite unique. So just to put some numbers here, the intended graphene facility that we're intending of producing, we should be able to get to scale in six months or so, is 50 metric tons. That would support about 5 million liters of admixture. We know from market studies, we could probably sell that for about $2 a liter. So the theoretical revenue generation here is about $10 million. And this is just on the concrete side. We do other things. but this is just to show the capital efficiency and the leverage that's inherent within the model. And this doesn't take into account things like potential carbon credit eligibility and things like that. Next slide, please, Terrence. What this slide's trying to demonstrate is we're not a one-trick pony. What we're starting to understand is we started with the low-hanging fruit in ready mix. We work with all the large notable players like Lafarge, CBM, CRH, Cemex, even on the admixture side like Sika, Master Builders and such. We've already dabbled into precast. We recently shut down 5 precast operations in the last month to reduce our product. We recently just got an amazing data point. We have a program with the University of Waterloo here in Canada with Green Infrastructure Partners, which is probably the largest asphalt producer in Canada, where we're enhancing the crack resistance of the asphalt by as much as 20%. So what we're starting to demonstrate is that we're not a one-trick pony. We understand how we can manipulate our materials either in a liquid form or in a dry-based form, where we can, again, drive that performance across different product groups within construction materials. We think we can do some really interesting things as it relates to the aggregate-based products, as well as recycled concretes as well. Next slide, please, Terrence. And this is just concrete. The vision of the company moving forward is our secondary market approach. And again, we're trying to scale this out methodically without losing focus. But we are trying to understand the versatility of materials. And we're starting to gain that with some really interesting partners that are specific to the company, that have the expertise, the knowledge, the know-how, who can really take our materials and run without sucking the resources out of our company. And we get that data, so we understand what the boundaries are of our product. And the reality is we're realizing that it's an extremely versatile graphene material. We'd recently won a grant from the Ontario government to explore materials and water treatment filtration technology. We're working with a large consortium as it relates to plastics in the US. I already mentioned asphalt with GIP. We've already done some interesting things that relates to battery technology and infrastructure, even thinking about replacing synthetic-based carbons with our platform technology, because that's basically what we do. We create a synthetic-based organic carbon material that we then mill down into graphene. So we have a very flexible technology platform that allows us in the future to address these market opportunities very effectively. So as mentioned, this is just a very basic slide, but we are doing a $5 million raise. The cap structure of the company is very clean. What I would stress here is 2 things. We believe that the ROI potential in the investment is significant based on where we are in the growth profile of the company. We've raised about $4 million Canadian to date, and we've been around since 2019. We're very, very capital efficient as an organization. It's kind of embedded in our culture. Our working cap burn, for example, is probably 110K a month. And we expect to maintain that efficiency moving forward as we grow. But we do see significant ROI potential in this next leg as it relates to strategic partners, as it relates to revenue visibility that we'll be attaining in the concrete market. There's inflection points that are going to be happening in the next 6 months that is going to add significant value to the company over time. Next slide there, please, Terrence. So just quickly, just to recap, why BGS and what we think is different thematically as it relates to potentially other plays in the industry. One is a technology advantage. Again, we do something different that's a true green performance solution. A different business model, capital efficient. It's a licensable model. It allows us to think different how we go about scale. We've a very focused and refined approach. We've been able to attract the right people to help drive adoption with our product. I mentioned Laura. We've also attracted some pretty interesting advisory people from advisory capacity. We recently had this previous senior vice president of CRH, Innovation and Sustainability, North America, join, who's now the head of GIP, which is a spinoff of GFL. One of the previous directors of Lafarge has recently joined, and another professor by the name of Doug Hooton. Doug is the Deputy NC Chair for Concrete Sustainability and Innovation for North America. He's kind of considered the academic and regulatory guru, and we're in conversations with Doug and joining the team as well. So a very refined approach to this with in-house expertise that's deep, with a defined, distinct competitive advantage. End product capability that's already been built out. Again, significant data here with product development partners that have been testing our materials to a point now where we're at that inflection point where we're getting that revenue visibility. And that all translates back into a significant ROI potential where we are in the company's growth. That allows us really to establish that product leadership and sustain competitive advantage but more importantly, we can do that quickly with minimal capital investment. So I'll leave it there. Oh, no, sorry, I got one more slide. And just lastly, we're very blessed to have a great team. There's two ladies on the technical side that really drive our product. Again, one from a product development perspective that relates to concrete, who is Laura, who I spoke of. Rafaela is a PhD by trade. She's one of those rare breeds that has a in-depth understanding of nanomaterials, carbon-based nanomaterials of more than 10 years. She is extremely good at what she does and brings knowledge to the team that's very hard to come by. But very good team, very good advisory team. For a small company, I think we've kind of built a powerhouse around concrete, and we continue to attract other people in different industries now based on the technology and the production platform that we have and what we have to offer and how we can basically fit within other existing supply chains. So I'll leave it at that.
Excellent. Liam, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
For more information on market opportunities and to connect with experts, contact the Graphene Council at thegrathenecouncil.org.